In October 2023, niche thing developer, unknown developer posted his game Harken. This game was the last of his itch.io projects, and his last Twitter post was on July 20th, 2025, which is considered Moon Day. This post was a photo taken from the moon with the coordinates 10.5 degrees south, 22.3 degrees west. Since the release of Harken and the Twitter post, unknown developer has left all 1 million puzzle pieces behind to a giant mystery within his platforms for newcomers to solve. Has that mystery been solved? Unknown developer started this mystery in 2017 and concluded it in 2023, and there are still people dissecting every single thing about every game and audio file and YouTube video and piss droplet he created to this day. Do I think I'm gonna solve everything in this video? I mean, that's what I'm supposed to do, right? I'm gonna do that, right? You know? I mean, I'll try my best. Everything unknown developer has made is made with the intention of telling a story. And I know that's the goal of like every ARG, but whatever. You know what I mean. Except the story is very confusing. Everything means something else, which also might mean something else, which also might mean something else. It's all hidden in long paragraphs of information that may or may not be about the story. And when presented with those paragraphs, I'm gonna try my hardest to simplify and connect them to the story. There is so much information about unknown developers' projects. So much so, there is an 181-page Google document in the unknown developer solving Discord. I recommend that you explore unknown developers' works after this video and try to finally solve this near decade-long mystery, and hopefully the bigger picture can be solved in its entirety eventually. I do warn you, trying to solve unknown developers' games and music and 35-minute Bandcamp track will result in one of three things. 1, you running up a wall. 2, you walking up a wall. 3, you running down a wall. But our goal is to go through all of this guy's things and work with what we can get to develop what the story could be based on just what we know. Starting with the game. These games are the start of the mystery, and there are over 30 of them. To prevent making a 2-hour-long video that will lose all engagement in the first 5 minutes, I'm splitting this into 3 parts. I think the story progresses through 3 chapters, which are all split up by these games at the end of each chapter that are meant to summarize the story in the most cryptic way possible, besides the last chapter. This video is the first chapter, starting with every game has a cryptic description that pertains to both the game and the story. The description of this game is, this game can reveal things you don't know yet about yourself over time. Don't play this game. It's as simple as that. Obviously, we're gonna play it. This game comes with a photo called Solution. This photo is unknown developer's face with text behind it and green Morse code on top and bottom of the screen. The Morse code says, look inside. Hey, so I'm gonna do that right now, actually. The game gives you 2 options, to listen or to quit. Technically, we're not even playing the game, we're just listening. We listen to this woman saying something, but she's making up random words and it doesn't even make any sense. The screen displays 30 random numbers as she talks, and the screen says a random score out of 780. The community found that every letter represents a number from 1 to 26, since 30 times 26 is 780 and A equals 1 and Z equals 26. It is currently impossible to get to 780. I held off on decrypting the text in the solution photo because it actually has a transcript of what the lady says, and it goes like this.
You lied on the fact I don't know which frissing poster Mustang. Why don't you gruel on it? Same Folgen as ever. Hover the tablecloth punt. Do you understand me? Nobody does. Listen, there's a Bodgens at the door. Should I garrist him? Find me a Gromfriel.
Who this lady is uncertain, but many think she has a disease known as receptive aphasia, which affects how you speak and understand things. And that theory is supported when she says, do you understand me? Nobody does. She sounds like she's creating really good conversation to herself, but everyone else around her thinks she's just saying random shit, and she is. NY is formatted in a similar way, where we're given a choice to listen or to quit. This game doesn't come with a solution photo like the last game, but the description reads, this is my city. Cool. This game shows a photo of New York, which probably explains why the game is called NY or New York. When we listen, we hear a new voice that says as follows.
This is my city. Here I fumble the bloated. As a human, I've just one killed them. And I'm gonna Jerusalem till I drop. Sometimes the tabernae you're looking for is right under your Bulgand. Shockingly must foot over the Grumtasmos. Once it dries all the moonlight. Listen. The Great Hormesi is coming. And I've no shelter tonight. No reasons to feel the Yambach creaking my unsetter glob again.
Again, no clue what he's saying, similar to the lady from Don't Play the Game. He might also suffer from receptive aphasia, which many theorize might also be the case. Many theorize the N and Y might mean something in Don't Play the Game where they all represent a number, and NY might be 1425. No clue what I'd do with this number. Maybe we can use it for later. Maybe a 4-digit code for something. Probably not though. I don't know. The description reads, books ready to burn. Have you ever read a book? They're like magic. Or death, or love, bludgeoning your throbbing head, looking for release. Isn't pain just a piercing tickle in your heart? Imagine all this 6 times. It's time for 6 tonight. 6 books is simple. This game has no title screen and only presents you with 6 books, the power to read them and the power to quit. If you type in any of the letters, a woman will start speaking.
A book about love, a book about hate, a book about life, a book about death, a book about me, a book about you.
After you've read them all, you have the option to burn them, and instead of burning them, the woman says,
I'd rather burn your face, gouge your eyes, melt your skin, kiss your lips, breathe your breath, drink your sweat.
Most speculate this game has more than meets the eye, maybe a code of some sort in the books, like you have to burn them in a certain order or something of the sort, but so far there haven't been any new discoveries since 2020 on the Discord. The description of this game reads, the moon, always there, floating in the night like a pale air balloon. Our fate, your fate, the moon, the moon. Are you alive? Are you happy? Are you scared? The answer is on the moon. Are you on the moon? Find out the omens the moon sends you, every day, every night. All those strange things happening to you, and reach the end. A real, unskippable, no turning back end. This time it's there. She's there, waiting for you. There's also this little message on every game unknown developer makes. Most of the time it contains his face. Later on it won't do that. This message out of all of them is important because it mentions that there's an actual ending, implying that there's no secret letter combination or secret ending to any of the other 3 games you've played so far. Moon Omen starts with 3 options. To start, to quit, or to die. We're gonna hold off on dying for just a second. Starting the thing leads to a photo of the moon with text, nobody cares about you. Damn, okay, damn. There's this voice in the background saying what sounds like muzzle or muscle. You're given the choice to Y, agree, or N, disagree. Pressing N takes you back to this screen, and pressing Y takes you to the next screen. The screens that follow after pressing Y say as follows. You're alone most of the time. You're constantly afraid of dying. In the shower, you can hear someone whispering your name. You swear you saw someone moving in the mirror. In the late afternoon, you do often see shadows walking in your house. At night, there's an ominous presence in your bedroom. The darkness is warmer when you're asleep. Your nightmares are always about your inner fears. Your fears are nothing to be worried about. There is no reason to be afraid of what you can't avoid. You know what comes next. Death. And you start over, except this little red cross in the middle of the screen appears. Pressing the death option in the main menu leads to this screen, but with 1 extra death. This game is a loop, and getting enough deaths leads to a flashing series of jump scares, and the muzzle voice gets really loud. After the jump scare, you are only presented with the option to quit, thus ending Moon Omen. The moon, based on this game, represents all but good things, with these messages of doom and despair describing you sensing a presence around your house while you're living your day-to-day life. The moon could even represent death, since all you can really do is die in Moon Omen. What the freaky photos represent, I have no idea. I think they're just there to be scary. They're literally all stock scary photos, so I don't think they have a place in the story. You can't find this game on the homepage anymore, as either itch.io or Unknown Developer have taken the game down for reasons that will become very obvious shortly. The game Tits and Boobies, which the Discord calls T and B, probably isn't that important to the lore due to it being deleted and never being brought back by Unknown Developer. In 2019, someone in the UD Discord actually asked Unknown Developer what happened to Tits and Boobies, and he said that the deletion of the game is a newcomer's only concern. They also said that the means and ways to illustrate the whole picture gets subsequently expressed on more extensive and detailed occasions, meaning that this game didn't even express the message of the story as well as everything else has. So me going over this game is useless. But an really key idea represented by the description of this game is that the moon represents lust. And the moon isn't even on the moon and actually represents a person who also represents lust. Hypno467767's description is mostly redacted like an SCP document. Like they're a doctor's report from a facility, since the document ends with doctor something. But the description says not to use something, presumably this mentioned form of hypnosis, Hypno467767, if the patient has previously done something or has been in a certain type of relationship with another inmate. I'm assuming the censored part here says sexual relationship because of how freaky unknown developer is. The game is supposed to demonstrate this type of hypnosis. We have a narrator, presumably a doctor of some sort, speaking to us as we're supposed to close our eyes. So I suggest that you close your eyes too, for like immersion or whatever.
Close your eyes, shut your mouth, listen to the sound of my voice. I'm here with you. Clench your fists. Hold your breath. Count to 5. Start breathing again. Imagine a couple. They can be anything, men or women. They're naked.
Most theorize this is a form of hypnosis therapy, but that sparks a question. What does Hypno467767 do for anyone? After you open your eyes again, you get the message, don't worry, I planted a seed in your head. Tonight, it'll grow into a terrifying nightmare. Then you'll have your jump scare. Out of your bed. Good night. The painful box's description advises that we don't open it, but unknown developer's message says, what? I don't care. So, I guess I shouldn't either, right? Not my problem. We're gonna open it now. And by open it, I mean the thing, the game thing. Whatever. Painful box gives you the option to pick a box out of the alphabet and then a number from 0 to 9. I've done all I can with the number combinations, going through A1, B1, C1, D1, and so on, and then A2, B2, C2, D2, and then so on and so on and so on, and I have found nothing besides this flashing white hallway thing, and that is the only other thing here besides. The most interesting part of this game are the little evil messages that vary with each box. They're all bullying the player, or maybe whoever's in this box, saying things like they're laughing and breathing while you're crying and drowning, like they're losing breath in the box. They're all messages saying something about how meaningless the one in the box is, and everyone pretending to like them, and then they got put in the box. I don't think this has anything to do with that one Petscop game theory about that girl getting trapped in the box, but it's starting to sound an awful lot like it if you know what I'm talking about. This game mostly just shows us this box and how someone is likely trapped and dying in it, and maybe the box has something to do with this white room. I'm not too sure just yet. On the Edge introduces two new main characters, Jake and Melissa. The description refers to humanity as one long tangled scarf, with Jake and Melissa being one strand different from the others. They try to explain by saying it's like when you're cold and you put your hands in your pockets to cool them down, but now your neck is cold. But to put on a scarf, you have to get your hands cold again. And they're wrapping their strand around one very cold neck. I'm assuming that means they're doing something that covers up one issue temporarily, but they can only get more involved as time goes on, and other pressing issues get worse. Because to care for a very cold neck, you have to just keep wrapping a scarf around it, but in doing so, your hands will keep getting colder. That's what they're doing. They're ready to approach the edge or face the threat. The threat must be in the game, so let's try it. The game starts with an old British woman asking Jake to be saved because she's stuck in this well, and you're given the choice to help her or not, but both choices result in him saying, fuck you, and then Melissa comes in saying, no, fuck me. Oh, that was clean. That was not clean. That was kind of just straight. The woman knows who Melissa is too, so they're all associated somehow in some way. They're about to get their freak on, but the woman asks for help again. You get the option to help or not, but again, doing so will result in the same thing. That being, a rock lands on her head, probably dropped by Jake since he admits that a rock fell on her head. Jake and Melissa merge into each other while kissing up on each other as the old woman keeps begging to be freed as she starts dying. And her dying concludes the game. Based on the scarf analogy, the very cold neck is likely the murder they just involve themselves in at this well. They're gonna keep wrapping themselves around it as other pressing issues like becoming a murderer gets worse over time, like maybe cops will find them or something. Unforgettable is advertised as the most exciting experience of your life. A journey through car chases, explosions, beautiful women, stunning bodies, and manly fights. Now, I don't know if it's some Poltergeist, Candle Cove, Cognito Hazard shit, because when I open the game, I'm presented with quitting results in the game saying, slow the tide, goodbye, and text very quickly scurries across the screen. This text is an edited version of Unforgettable by Nat King Cole, and it has green letters that spell out, I can see you. You know how I said there's probably not going to be a game with 4-digit code. No clue what I'd do with this number. Maybe we can use it for later. Maybe a 4-digit code for something. Probably against the door's description as a poem about meeting someone against the door. Against that door. The that in the description is embedded with a link to a later game called 19, which might be connected to this game lore-wise. The game starts with a door, right? And we're against it. Besides this door is a gramophone. This gramophone right here is the key to everything. All 4-digit codes in this game are obtained through this gramophone. Starting off, the first code is the song I've Got You Under My Skin, which was first sung in 1936. Since the song is backwards, so is the code, I guess, which makes the code 6391. Next, a clock appears. The gramophone plays a dog barking and a man listing out 1 through 4 at different times. The times between those numbers are the code, which was 4692. The third door presents us with a ruler, and the song gets louder for a short period of time on 4 separate occasions before repeating. The seconds that the louder audio plays each time creates the code 5874. These codes are bullshit, by the way, if you can't tell, and we're only on like, what game is this? Like the 8th game, I think. At the 4th door, knocking an SOS signal can be heard, but the code is of a man listing numbers that definitely aren't big enough to fit a 4-digit code, but the code apparently is how many letters each number in word form has, and that code is 8469. Since there was no song available in the 5th and final door, that leaves us with the code 0000. The door opens permanently and the game sings I've Got You Under My Skin, except the words under deep skin, in well, resist my sacrifice, near warning, night repeats, fool, win, mentality, reality, thought, stop, begin, you are highlighted in red. No clue what those words might mean together, but maybe we'll find out later. For me and you's icon is a GIF with 3 frames. All frames have red Morse code that spell out the name of the game, except the second frame is Morse code at the bottom. This Morse code translates to, the tree of love must be refreshed from time to time with the roses of patriots and tyrants. This quote may not make much sense, along with literally like everything else, but this quote is actually an edited version of the quote from Thomas Jefferson, the tree of liberty must be refreshed from time to time with the blood of patriots and tyrants. This quote was edited to turn the violent, evil quote into one about love, which could potentially be the theme of this game. Find out later. But this game starts with 6 green lines bumping up and down in separate orders. Behind every letter are the numbers 467767. Typing in those numbers lead to an M or J appearing depending on which side of the screen you're on. M for Melissa and J for Jake. There's also a lower level with red lines and a black background, and typing the code and either pressing M or J leads to a different ending each. For M, we see the silhouette of a woman with big white eyes looking at the player, and she's leaned towards the middle from the corner like she's peeking from off screen. The next page has text saying, "What a Wonderful Moon" by Neil Alden Armstrong. Now, if you're one of my dumb baby viewers, and you don't know this, Neil Alden Armstrong is the first man to land on the moon. Pressing J gets similar results, but with the silhouette of a man with big white eyes peeping at us from a different corner. And instead of "What a Wonderful Moon," it's "What a Wonderful World" by Louis Daniel Armstrong. Since we get the moon ending from Melissa's side of the screen, that means Melissa is the one more related to the moon compared to Jake, who I guess is just like enjoying himself. And since Melissa is the one who starts the freak off with Jake and On the Edge, and the moon supposedly represents lust, maybe the moon, whatever it's manifest to be in this story, has turned Melissa into Freak-lissa. No way I fucking wrote that in the script. Has turned Melissa into Freak-lissa through some form of hypnosis or brainwashing, maybe Hypno 467767. Probably unbelievably off track, but that's my current theory with the information we have. Unknown developer recommends that we play everything else he's made before OMEN 167 to avoid heavy spoilers, meaning that a lot of heavy lore elements are probably in this one game. All connects from don't play this game up to For Me and You. This game is actually a short book creating a full story relating to the past 9 games we've played. The first page, which has the same background as Don't Play This Game, takes place in a forest with who I can only assume are Jake and Melissa, with Jake as the writer because he's talking about Melissa. She was there, sitting on a rock, watching and laughing. She tells Jake to sleep, to which he wakes up in a white room which shares the same features as the one from the Painful box. Smooth walls, smooth lights. A dark figure sitting in a chair appears, and suddenly he's now lying in a bed. He tries to knock himself out against the bedpost, but there was no bedpost, so he couldn't knock himself out. There's no transition from real life in his dream state, but I'm assuming he wakes up at some time later. Jake remembers a face come up from the well, asking about seeing it. When he saw the face, both Jake and Melissa ran to the city. Since the background is NY, which is also New York, I'm guessing they ran to New York from the middle of diddly squat. They found a house full of pain after running for years by that time. The background is now against the door because they're presented with a closed door to enter the house. They don't put four-digit codes in because I guess they break through the door without breaking the lock somehow. So they just ran through that shit, I guess. They meet a pregnant old lady with a little boy. A pregnant old lady. She says her daughter is the one in her belly, and Jake's son was the little boy that was currently burning books. She refers to her daughter as her moon child, and she talks about how Jake's son was born from the selfish heart of a horse. This horse is directly referenced in the official unknown developer merchandise page saying, "The Great Harness is coming." The Great Harness probably refers to the sport of harness racing. I mean, according to Google at least, but I don't know what that means when it comes to the selfish heart of a horse. They seem pretty selfless to me. The old lady said she gave him all the knowledge he wished for, but he's still alive, sadly. Then the kid stands up with his arms to his sides. She says she's going to give birth to her moon child tonight, and she can already feel these peaceful waves wetting my ankles. The kid starts hopping around the room. Jake covers the naked body, referring to Melissa, with a long scarf found on a broken rocking chair. The old lady says the moon child is on her path and that they are going to touch her for the first time. Then her eyes darkened and the boy opened his arms for the old lady like he was going to catch the baby in his arms. He got in position like it was procedure at this point, like he was aware of what was coming next. Jake and Melissa leave shortly after and they hear a deafening scream from the house on the way home. They come back to the house to investigate, but a small unbreakable wooden box stood in its place. Then they spot a shovel stuck in a tree, but then they walked up to the tree. Melissa took her scarf off and started behaving like her body was being touched for the first time. And Jake started neighing and kicking, which loops the story. There's a secret 10th page that shows up after you loop the story a couple times and then quit the game on the 3rd page. This page comes from an outside reader that wasn't Jake, the author of the story we've been reading. They found this story behind some pads in a cell in an abandoned psych ward. Room N167 was the room these pages were found in. The ward, at the time, had been abandoned for 50 years, meaning this story was from long, long ago. The good old days. What does that mean, Great Depression.mp4? Did you just want me to put a video of the Great Depression up on screen? The good old days. I don't know what the current year might be in this story, but I'm assuming it's between the 90s and 2010s based on the music choice from the other games. What a Wonderful World came out in 1967, making this game take place in 2017, which was when this game came out, so it would make sense if that was the case. But that also means that the story of Jake and Melissa takes place in the 60s. This unknown reader says they've asked Dr. Royston to search in her father's archives to find anything interesting about who must have written these pages. And I guess he's had nothing to say because the writer doesn't say anything about it. He also includes that I should have asked her out ages ago. So maybe this is like her husband or her boyfriend or maybe her coworker and they keep a strict business relationship. But he kind of just brushes it off and says he's gathered that the author of these pages was a male and a girl inmate was in cahoots with this author and they either escaped together or this story could have been part of a delusional person's mind. Which would make sense because these pages were in a padded cell. This one page introduces Dr. Royston, a woman whose father worked in the psych ward where Melissa and Jake were locked up together. And this same ward also likely performed Hypno 467767 on Melissa. The whole story wraps the last 9 games together in a nice little bow. And by in a little bow, I mean like with construction paper and Elmer's glue because I still don't know what's going on. What do we know now at the end of this chapter of the story? So far, we know the story of Jake and Melissa, 2 psych ward patients that have probably both been experimented on via Hypno 467767, a form of hypnotherapy that so far has only been described to plant seeds in people's minds that grow into nightmares. So maybe this is a nightmare to Jake that he's written down, and it doesn't seem like a nightmare because his deluded brain has transformed it into less of a nightmare and more of a fantasy. Melissa is a moon child, meaning she was either one of the children birthed by the old woman, or is someone who's associated with the moon in some other form. Jake is seemingly just a normal-ass guy besides the fact he's a psych ward patient, no moon-related backstory, and barely even a backstory to begin with. Jake and Melissa have seemingly escaped the ward together, and they have killed someone in a well according to On the Edge. Melissa sends Jake to sleep, and he wakes up in a white room with a black figure on a black chair while he's in a bed. This white room is seen in the painful box, which according to this game, either the moon child or the entire house was in this box. I'm guessing the moon child based on the targeted text from the painful box, and they put the moon child in the box as something like a sacrifice for the moon. And there have been many sacrifices since this little boy gets in in position to receive the Moon Child like he's done it multiple times before. In Moon Omens, in the perspective of the old woman, and the death looping represents all the Moon children she sacrificed. Because the old woman says she's going to touch her for the first time, and Melissa starts acting up like she's being touched for the first time, confirms that Melissa is a Moon Child, and Jake is a horse, I guess. I don't think the books have much story since they're just being burned all the time, but I guess they conveyed a theme of bipolar or mental illness with the back and forth, I'm gonna kill you and I'm gonna kiss you type text. The White Room could be a flash into reality, that being the psych ward Jake and Melissa reside in. Psych wards are usually seen with similar traits as this room, colorless, bland, smooth, clean, and a dark figure walked in while Jake was in bed, likely just someone checking up on him. But Jake didn't want to wake up when he did, so he tried to knock himself out. And maybe him not feeling the bedpost was the transition back into this weird, confusing, dreamlike state with Melissa. This dream state might be where the entire story so far takes place. Everything is written in this confusing, symbolic way where everything has some meaning, but it's all covered in this mystery that we have to dig past. The secret 10th screen sparks the idea of these stories taking place just in the mind of a delusional psych ward patient, which I'd like to think is the case. This screen and the White Room are the only two showcases of the outside world, a part of the story that takes place in the real world where Jake prefers to stay away from. And maybe we divert more attention away from Jake and Melissa and see more of the psych ward in the next chapter of the story, starting with the game after room N167, The Storks Are Crying. That concludes chapter 1 of the Unknown Developer catalog. I'll post everything in the description for you to check out yourself, including his itch.io page, his YouTube channel, and the unofficial Discord server where they solve all the mysteries and all those things. Expect a video or two on cargo shorts and minor inconveniences in the coming weeks. I hope you all like this video enough to subscribe, and I hope you all have a Merry Christmas. Let me know what you guys get in the comments below, pretty please. I'll see you all soon. Happy holidays.